Hi, Richard Fink for MovieWeb. I'm here today with Chris Pine. How are we doing today?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'd have to say, huge fan of your work.
Thanks.
This is honestly a dream come true for me. You're one of my
Oh,
favorite
thanks,
actors,
man.
so
I
this
really
is a pleasure.
That's really sweet.
I do have to ask, the movie's incredible. I loved it. And you get to finally play a Disney villain, a pretty big honor. How does that feel for you to step into such a iconic institution like Disney?
To play a villain is more fun than playing a hero often because you get to do all the weird fun stuff. And I really only was apprised of what an honor it was playing a villain by a buddy of mine who was telling me all about the Disney villain songs and what a big deal that was. And I only found that out after I sang the song, thank God. But to be a part of Wish, the 100-year anniversary of Disney, and Disney has been an important part of all of our lives growing up, and storytelling and images and worlds that they've created, so it's an honor.
And, like you said, Disney villains have a pretty big legacy. They're some of the most iconic in cinema. And now your character, King Magnifico, is going to be up there with Maleficent and Cruella de Vil and Jafar. But what separates your character from the rest of them? What would you say makes your villain stand out from the rest?
That's a really good question. I'm not as off-book on those villains as I should be, I guess. I've always been attracted to characters that are basically buffoonish, that think of themselves more than they actually are, and get shown that in some way. I love a banana peel moment, and so to play a character who gets to play all of the colors. In the first, he's charming and magnificent and powerful, and then he's angry and unhinged, and then he's whimpering and asking for help, is like the full cycle of the many different facets of someone.
Yeah, that was honestly one of the great things about this role. Was we get to see a lot of different Chris Pines in this. We get to see kind of like the noble, charming hero we've seen you play in Star Trek, the very villainous character from Horrible Bosses 2, and a little bit of like the kind of, like you said, silly buffoon that you recently did in Dungeons & Dragons. So
Yeah.
You got to mix all those together in this one.
100%.
Now, this has been a big year for people like myself who are big fans of Chris Pine singing, because you got to sing in Dungeons & Dragons and you get to sing 2 songs in this. Tell us a little bit more about your musical background and your history with it, and obviously stepping into 2 iconic Disney songs now.
Yeah, I sang a little bit in high school and sang in the shower, and I grew up loving Frank Sinatra, and played guitar for a while, so I've sung and done that for a while, and never really thought about it until I got offered. Actually, I did audition for La Cage aux Folles when I was 23, and I didn't get it, but I got close and auditioned for Heartbeat Firestein, and was terrified. I think I was shaking the whole time. But anyway, so then I did Into the Woods, and that was a real joy, and I was like, oh God, this is super, super fun. And so it's definitely a part of my interest, and I love doing it. I find it a really big challenge, and when I hear people that have a real gift for it, I was just watching Rio Bravo last night with John Wayne, and maybe one of the best Dean Martin performances of all time, but there's a moment where he sings and you're like, oh, Dino. It's just like, ah. So, to have the ability to do that, it reminds me of these, the greats from a time past that could dance, sing, tap dance, fight people, It's like a James Cagney. He could beat people up and then do a tap routine with Bob Hope on a table, and so those guys I really emulate.
And that is you. That is your career, pretty much.
Oh, thanks, man.
I definitely have a lot of people that are like, when is Chris Pine going to release a whole album? So, and I would buy that album. So, if you ever do, let it be known.
All right.
Now, you did mention about kind of everyone has a history and a legacy or a memory with Disney, and especially the credits of this movie kind of are all about inviting those memories. I have 2 major questions: is what is your favorite Disney animated movie, and then do you have a special memory of Disney, either a movie or a park or anything related to the company that you hold dear?
Yeah, there's so many. Growing up, my first crush was Ariel in Little Mermaid, either her or Shira, Princess Warrior. I think really the one that stayed with me the most is probably A Lady and the Tramp. I have these very fond, rose-tinted memories of that. And in terms of the park,
or like a favorite Disney ride, or even not even a ride, like a memory you have with Disney, like something.
Well, Space Mountain. I have these memories of going into Space Mountain. I always loved, where you see the pirates in that boat.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
They may have taken it out for some reason, but yeah, I went to Disneyland like everybody else. It was really Disneyland in medieval times where because they're both next
Those
to
are
each other.
those are the big ones.
Huge, yeah, huge for me.
Yeah. Well, Chris, my time is almost up, so I just wanted to say, thank you so much for sitting down to talk with me. I've been a big fan of your work for so long, and I will say, as both a Disney fan and a Chris Pine fan, this is a wish come true for me. So just thank you for granting me that time.
The nicest thing I've heard in a long time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank
You have a
very
lovely
much.
day.